It had been a calm morning on the ranch, the kind of morning where the dew still clung to the grass and the world seemed to slow down. Sam Matthews, a former lawyer turned ranch owner, stood at the edge of his property, watching the sunrise, cast long shadows over his land. He had spent years turning this rugged plot into something he could be proud of, a place to breathe, to escape the chaos of the world. But today, the peace was shattered. From the top of the hill, Sam spotted the line of trucks, heavy machinery, all parked near his front gate. They weren't there when he left for town earlier that day. His pulse quickened as he jogged down the dirt path to get a closer look. As he crested the hill, his stomach sank. A towering fence made of cold, unforgiving steel was rising along the boundary of his property. He had seen fences before, but this one was different. He stormed toward the construction site, his boots kicking up dust. The workers barely glanced at him as they continued their work. The fence was almost complete, leaving no room for him to pass. He gritted his teeth, his frustration boiling over. His land was meant to be free, open, untouched by the red tape and bureaucracy that had already ruined so many parts of the world. But now, here it was, his gateway to the outside world, blocked off by some nameless authority. "Hey!" Sam shouted, stepping up to one of the workers. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The worker, a burly man with a stony expression, paused for a moment. "It's not us, man. The HOA gave the orders." Sam froze. The HOA? He had heard whispers of their growing influence in the area, but he never thought they would have the gall to come this far. "I need to speak with someone in charge," Sam demanded, his voice thick with anger. The worker only shrugged and pointed toward a woman standing near the trucks, clipboard in hand. Sam stormed over, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on him. "Ma'am," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What is this? What gives the HOA the right to do this?" The woman looked at him coldly. "It's for the betterment of the community. You'll receive a formal notice soon," she said dismissively, not even meeting his gaze. Sam's hands clenched into fists. There was no explanation, no warning, just a silent takeover of his property. And in that moment he knew this wasn't just about a fence. It was about control. The question was, why? And what were they going to do next? Hey, real quick. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more awesome content. And while you're at it, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. All right, let's keep going. Sam couldn't shake the anger gnawing at him as he paced the length of his front porch, staring at the now imposing fence that cut off his land from the world. There was something more to this than just a simple boundary. No one had warned him. No letter, no notice, nothing. Just a crew of workers, a clipboard, and a steel wall slowly encroaching on his property. And the HOA. They had a history of making life difficult for anyone who wasn't a perfect, rule-abiding member of their little community. But this? This was something bigger. "Damn it," Sam muttered under his breath. The wheels in his mind were already turning. He had to dig deeper. Someone had to know what was going on. He grabbed his phone, dialing the one person who might have some answers. Lucas, the local reporter. They had crossed paths a few times, and Lucas was always looking for a good story. Sam knew the journalist's curiosity would get the better of him. "Lucas, it's Sam Matthews. I need your help. The HOA just installed a fence across my land. No warning, no nothing. Wait, hold up. The HOA? That's odd. They've been getting more aggressive lately. What do you think they're up to?" Lucas's voice crackled through the line, urgent. Sam could almost hear him scribbling notes. "I don't know yet, but it's not random. It never is with those people. They're up to something, and I need you to dig into it. Consider it done. I'll look into it and get back to you." Hours later, Lucas called back, his voice tinged with the kind of seriousness that made Sam's stomach Titan, you were right. It's worse than I thought. The HOA's been making moves in your area for months, buying up land, making shady deals with contractors, and enforcing new community guidelines that never made sense. But this fence, that's a power play. They're consolidating control over the whole area. And Sam, you might be in their way. The words hit Sam like a punch to the gut. The HOA's actions were becoming more deliberate, and it was clear they had set their sights on his land. But why? What could they possibly want with his property? Sam's mind raced. He had always been an outsider in the eyes of the HOA, someone who didn't bend to their rules. But this wasn't just about land. It was about something far more sinister. As he sat on the edge of his porch, looking at the fence cutting through his horizon, a creeping suspicion settled over him. The HOA wasn't just trying to control the land. They were trying to control everything. And the more he uncovered, the darker this mystery seemed to get. What they had planned next, Sam wasn't sure he was ready for it, but there was no turning back now. Sam sat in his kitchen, the fading sunlight casting long shadows across the table where a stack of legal papers and notes lay in front of him. His fingers drummed impatiently against the wooden surface. The idea had come to him earlier that day, just after he'd stormed off the phone with Lucas. What if he could turn their game back on them? What if the fence they'd thrown up wasn't just an obstacle, but an opportunity? Private toll road, Sam muttered to himself, his words cutting through the silence like a blade. He imagined it. People driving up to the gate, sliding cash, through a small window, and then moving along, paying for the privilege of access. It was crazy. It was genius. And it was exactly the kind of retaliation he needed. The HOA wanted to control his land? He'd charge them for it instead. The doubt crept in as quickly as the thought had come. Could he really pull this off? The legal ramifications alone were enough to make him second-guess it. A toll road wasn't just a quirky idea. It was a serious commitment. It would take time, money, and a lot of paperwork. But then again, when had Sam ever backed down from a fight? Not once in his life. This was no different. He pulled his laptop toward him, fingers typing furiously as he began to research the feasibility of creating a private toll road on his own property. It wasn't as simple as slapping up a sign and calling it a toll booth. There were zoning laws, licensing requirements, contracts to be signed, permits to secure. The HOA would fight him every step of the way. But if he could make it legal, if he could turn the tables just right, they'd have to play by his rules. His first call was to a local attorney, an old friend of his who'd helped him with property disputes before. He picked up the phone, the line ringing for what felt like an eternity. "Matthews?" came the gruff voice of Tom, the lawyer. "What's this I hear about a toll road?" "I'm thinking of turning the gate into a toll road. Private access. To my property. They've blocked me out, so I'll make them pay to get in. What do you think?" There was a long pause, followed by a sigh. "Sam, that's ambitious. But you're treading on thin ice here. The HOA won't just let you get away with it. And there's no guarantee it'll be legal. You'll need to do a lot of groundwork." "Groundwork is my middle name," Sam said, determination rising in his chest. "I'm not saying it can't be done," Tom replied, "but be careful. The moment you put that toll booth up, they'll come after you with everything they've got." Sam hung up the phone, his mind racing. He didn't care about the fight. This was war, and he wasn't about to lose. As he sat back in his chair, the weight of what he was about to do settled over him. This could either make or break him, and there was no turning back now. Sam stood at the foot of the freshly constructed gate, watching as the final touches were added to the makeshift toll booth. The metal frame gleamed in the late afternoon sun, a stark contrast to the rusting fence that had cut off his land only days before. His hands were shaking slightly as he adjusted the small sign that read, "Private Toll Road, $5 for access." His heart hammered in his chest. He had done it. He had actually done it. The structure was simple, but it was his response. A direct hit to the HOA's authority. There was a sick thrill in knowing that he was playing by his own rules now. But as the last of the workers packed up their tools and left, the weight of what he'd just begun settled on his shoulders. What if the HOA didn't take this lightly? What if they showed up in full force? Or worse, the local authorities? Sam had covered all the legal angles he could, but the truth was, he didn't know how this would play out. Every scenario ran through his mind in rapid succession, a swirling mix of possibility and dread. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. This is it, he thought. This is my shot. A car appeared on the horizon, its headlights cutting through the gathering twilight. Sam's stomach twisted. He was finally going to test it. This wasn't just a bold move. It was a statement. The car slowed as it neared the gate, the driver's face barely visible behind the windshield. It stopped just in front of the toll booth. Sam straightened up, hands now gripping the edge of the wooden counter as if steadying himself for the moment of truth. The window rolled down, revealing a familiar face. It was Carol, a neighbor who lived 2 miles down the road, her curiosity clearly piqued by the commotion she'd seen earlier. "You've got a toll now, huh?" she said, her voice tinged with amusement. "Is this for real?" Sam fought the urge to smile, keeping his tone as serious as possible. $5 for access. You want to pass through? That's the price." Carol raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. She fished around in her purse, pulling out a crumpled bill and handing it over. "Well, I'll be damned. This is a first. Guess I'll see you on the other side." The satisfaction of watching her hand over the cash, however reluctantly, was like a shot of adrenaline to Sam's veins. The toll booth had worked. One customer. But that was one more than he'd ever expected. As Carol's car disappeared through the gate, Sam leaned against the booth, a rush of triumph flooding through him. For the first time in days, he felt a semblance of control. But in the back of his mind, a voice whispered, "This is just the beginning. They won't let you get away with it for long." And somewhere, off in the distance, a shadow moved on the horizon. Sam didn't see it yet, but the HOA was watching. And so were others. Sam had barely gotten used to the steady stream of cars trickling through his toll gate when the first official letter arrived. It was thick, stamped with the HOA's logo in bold red letters that screamed authority. The envelope was heavy with a warning that felt like it was made of pure steel. He tore it open, his eyes scanning the words quickly before his mind fully registered what they meant. Notice of violation. Cease and desist operation of private toll road on property immediately. Failure to comply will result in further legal action. His blood boiled. The HOA had made their move. Sam set the letter down on the kitchen table, feeling the weight of it press into the wood like a burden he couldn't shake off. He'd expected this. Hell, he'd been waiting for it. But seeing their threats in writing made it all the more real. It wasn't long before the HOA's representative, Margaret Hale, the president of the board, showed up at Sam's property. She wasn't alone. A lawyer, a couple of officials, and even 2 security guards flanked her as she strode up to the toll booth like she was walking into a courtroom. "You've made your point, Sam," Margaret said, her voice all business. "But you need to shut this down. Now." Sam didn't flinch. "Not gonna happen, Margaret. You want to stop me? You'll have to go through the law." Margaret's lips curled into a tight, almost predatory smile. "Don't make me get the courts involved, Sam. This is your last warning. If you continue with this, we'll fine you, hit you with every legal action we can, and take you to court." "I'll be waiting," Sam shot back, his defiance solidifying in his gut like concrete setting in a mold. The HOA wasn't done yet, though. Over the next few weeks, they bombarded Sam with an avalanche of fines, too many to count, each one more ridiculous than the last. 4 unpermitted construction, for disrupting the peace, for unauthorized use of land. But Sam was ready. With every letter, he pulled out his own legal knowledge, counteracting each penalty with precise, well-timed responses. Every move they made, Sam turned it back on them, playing their own game but with sharper moves. He knew exactly how to fight back. The HOA's power relied on intimidation and the fear of costly legal battles. But Sam had studied the rules, and he knew how to manipulate the system. They threatened to fine him for the toll booth's placement. He found a clause in the zoning laws that allowed private roads. They tried to say it violated HOA community guidelines. He pointed out the constitutional rights to free access to property and had lawyers backing his every argument. But as each legal battle grew, so did the tension. The HOA wasn't just going to sit idly by. They had more resources, more connections, and a history of getting what they wanted. Sam felt the weight of that looming over him with every letter he received. One night, as he sat at his kitchen table reading through yet another set of legal papers from the HOA, he heard a car pull up outside. He didn't have to look up to know who it was. A familiar black SUV sat at the foot of his driveway, headlights off. It was the HOA's lawyer. Sam's pulse quickened. He stood up slowly, walking over to the window to watch. There was no talking this time. It wasn't a visit. It was a warning. Before he could turn away, the figure in the car stepped out, looking directly at Sam's window. The lawyer smiled, a cold, calculated smile. It was only a matter of time now. The real battle was just beginning. The tension in the air had become thick, suffocating even. Sam sat at his desk, surrounded by a mountain of paperwork. The fines, the threats, the legal documents all piling up like walls closing in. His mind raced, the pressure mounting with every phone call, every email from the HOA's lawyer, each one more threatening than the last. The HOA was relentless, and for the first time, Sam wasn't sure how much longer he could hold his ground. He'd been keeping his cool, countering each of their moves with sharp legal responses. But it wasn't enough anymore. The HOA was starting to escalate their retaliation. They had begun to organize a full-scale campaign against him. More threats, more fines, and whispers of a court order to seize his property. The stress was wearing him thin. The fight was becoming exhausting, and Sam felt a creeping sense of inevitability. It was only a matter of time before the HOA broke him. Then, just as he was about to lose hope, something unexpected happened. It was a late evening, and Sam was about to shut down for the night when his phone buzzed. It was an unfamiliar number, but something about it felt urgent. He hesitated for only a moment before picking it up. "Sam?" The voice on the other end was deep, authoritative, but calm. "I hear you've been having some trouble with the HOA." Sam blinked, unsure if he'd heard right. "Who is this?" "Call me Tom," the man replied, his tone matter of fact. "I've been keeping an eye on your toll road situation. I think I can help." Sam leaned back in his chair, frowning. This was too odd. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You're probably wondering who I am." I'll cut to the chase. "I'm with the local power company, Big Ridge Electric, and I've got a vested interest in your toll road." Sam's eyebrows shot up. "What the hell does a power company have to do with this?" "Let's just say," Tom continued, "there's a high-voltage line running through that part of your property. You've got access to a private road that leads straight to it. The HOA may have been blocking access to your land, but they've been blocking mine too. The power lines you're sitting on are a strategic point for the whole area. And frankly, they're screwing us both." Tom's words hung in the air for a moment, Sam processing the unexpected revelation. The power company had an interest in the land? A piece of the puzzle he hadn't even considered. Tom went on. "If you need an ally to help push back against the HOA, we've got resources, Sam. Legal muscle, funding for infrastructure, and connections. We can ensure your toll road stays up and running." Sam felt a sudden rush of relief, something he hadn't felt in weeks. The power company of all things was offering to back him. It was a lifeline, a way out of the suffocating pressure. For the first time in days, Sam allowed himself a grin. "You've got a deal." The next few days were a blur. Tom and his team worked behind the scenes, securing more legal backing for Sam's case. They launched a counteroffensive, filing motions, gathering evidence, and providing Sam with the resources to strengthen his position. Sam was no longer alone in this fight. The power company's involvement was a game changer, and for the first time, he felt like the tide was turning in his favor. But as Sam began to gather confidence, his relief was short-lived. The HOA wasn't backing down. In fact, they were, doubling down. Late one night, just as Sam was finishing a phone call with Tom, a black SUV appeared at the end of his driveway. This time, the headlights didn't flicker out when the car stopped. They stayed on, blinding him from the distance. Sam's heart raced. The HOA was making their move. Again. And this time, it felt different. As the door of the SUV opened, Sam's pulse quickened. There were no more warnings, no more legal letters. It was time for the HOA to take the fight to the next level. He knew with growing certainty that the storm was far from over. The tension in the air was palpable, a storm building on the horizon. Sam stood in front of his toll gate, eyes narrowed, as he surveyed the newly constructed barriers the HOA had set up. Concrete walls, towering fences, and security cameras, all designed to break his resolve. They weren't playing around anymore. The HOA had escalated their tactics, and this time, they meant business. They'd hired an outside legal team, specialists in property rights, and contractors ready to dismantle everything Sam had built. He felt the weight of their impending assault. The toll road he'd worked so hard to create was under direct threat now. They wanted to shut him down, remove him from his own property. And it wasn't just about the toll road anymore. It was personal. It had been a long, hard road to get here. Sam had built the toll road out of defiance, out of sheer will. And now, it was all on the line. A knock at the door shattered the silence of the evening. "Sam Miller?" The voice was sharp, authoritative. Sam turned to face the two men standing in the doorway. Their business suits were stiff, their eyes cold. "Yeah, that's me," Sam replied, trying to keep his voice steady. The leader of the two, a man with a clean-shaven face and a sharp jawline, stepped forward. "Here to shut you down," the man said flatly. "We've got the proper authorization to dismantle your toll road. This is your last chance to back down." Sam took a deep breath. He knew this moment was coming. The HOA had been building their case for weeks, and they weren't going to let him get away with it. They'd spent too much money, too many resources, and they had too much power. The truth was, he'd been expecting this confrontation, but expecting it didn't make it easier. "You're welcome to try," Sam said, locking eyes with the man. The words were out of his mouth before he even realized what he was doing. His hands were shaking, but his voice didn't betray the fear he felt inside. This was his moment. The two men exchanged glances, and the one in the front smirked. "You think you can win against us? You're not even a real business owner. This is a personal vendetta. Give it up." Sam didn't flinch. "I'm not backing down, and you won't win." A battle of wills ensued as Sam and the HOA's team locked, horns in a legal showdown that would determine the fate of his land. The legal threats piled up, but Sam wasn't alone this time. With the backing of Tom and the power company, they had their own arsenal of legal muscle to fire back. Hours of negotiations dragged on, their voices echoing in the sterile conference room where the final showdown was taking place. But Sam had something they didn't: determination. Every word that left the HOA's lawyer's mouth only fueled the fire inside him. With each statement, Sam chipped away at their case, finding loopholes, turning their strategies back on themselves. The final blow came when Sam presented a crucial piece of evidence, an overlooked zoning law that, in his favor, rendered the HOA's arguments irrelevant. The room fell silent, the attorneys stunned. Sam leaned back in his chair, knowing he'd just won. It wasn't over, though. A man in the back of the room, the same contractor Sam had seen near his toll road, stood up. His face was grim. "This isn't over," he said, a warning laced in his voice. "We'll be back," Sam smirked, the corner of his mouth twitching. "You can try, but I'll be ready." As the meeting adjourned and the last of the HOA's teams slunk away defeated, Sam stood up, his heart pounding with victory. His toll road was safe, for now. But something in the pit of his stomach told him that the HOA wouldn't go down so easily. This wasn't just about property rights anymore. It was war. And Sam was just getting started. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the sprawling land that Sam had fought so hard to protect. The toll road stood there, as steadfast and unyielding as he had been in the face of the HOA's relentless attacks. It was a symbol of everything he had endured, every legal battle, every threat, every sleepless night. And now, finally, it was his. As Sam sat in his truck, parked at the entrance to his toll road, he could feel the weight of the victory sinking in. The HOA, after weeks of escalating tactics and legal threats, had backed down. They were out of options. The final decision had come down in his favor, an ironclad ruling that cemented his ownership and control. The toll road was legal, and there was nothing the HOA could do to shut it down. He exhaled slowly, a sigh of relief mixed with a hint of disbelief. It was over, and it felt incredible. In the distance, a car approached, slowing as it neared. The toll gate. Sam's hand hovered over the lever, his fingers itching for the familiar action. A wave of satisfaction washed over him as he pulled it down, letting the gate open wide for the car to pass. He'd spent so long imagining this moment, imagining himself victorious. Now, it was reality. The car stopped, and a familiar face poked out of the window. It was Tom, his ally in this battle. He gave Sam a thumbs up, a broad grin on his face. "Looks like you've won, huh?" Tom called, his voice full of admiration. Sam chuckled, leaning against the side of his truck. "Yeah, it's finally over. I didn't think they'd back down, but I guess they didn't want to risk any more lawsuits, or any more bad publicity." "Smart move," Tom said, still smiling. "They didn't want to mess with you after everything you've pulled. You've got them running scared." Sam nodded, watching as the car drove through. For the first time in weeks, the air felt clear, free of the constant pressure the HOA had placed on him. It was as though a weight had been lifted, and he could breathe again. But just as he was about to let his guard down completely, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the gate. Sam froze for a moment, instinctively straightening. His heart skipped a beat as the window rolled down, revealing none other than the HOA's lawyer, the one who had spearheaded their legal attacks. "I guess I should have known," Sam muttered to himself. "They don't give up that easily." The lawyer's face was tight, his lips drawn into a thin, disapproving line. "You won this round, Miller," he said, his voice low and controlled. "But don't get too comfortable. We're not finished yet." Sam raised an eyebrow, feeling a rush of defiance course through him. "I think you are. You've got no case left, and you know it. Your best move was backing off." The lawyer's eyes narrowed, but he didn't respond. Instead, he turned, his gaze to the toll gate, his eyes scanning it with a mixture of frustration and begrudging respect. "We'll see about that, but don't get too confident. Things have a way of turning around." With that, he rolled up the window and sped off, leaving Sam standing there, a satisfied grin tugging at his lips. The victory was his. And this time? It was final. Tom came up beside him, shaking his head with a laugh. "That guy is just full of surprises, isn't he?" Sam shrugged, still grinning. "Let him talk. I'm done fighting them. They can't touch me now." As they stood there, watching the sunset together, Sam felt a sense of peace settle over him. He had come a long way. It had taken everything, every ounce of determination, every legal strategy, every last nerve, but he had done it. The toll road was his. The HOA was nothing more than a bad memory now, and as the last car drove through the toll gate, Sam couldn't help but laugh. His victory was sweeter than he had ever imagined. It wasn't just about the toll road, it was about standing up, refusing to back down, and proving that sometimes the underdog could win. He slapped Tom on the back. "You know what, Tom? I think I'll throw a party. A toll road victory party. You in?" Tom grinned, shaking his head. "You're something else, Sam. I'll bring the beer." As they walked toward Sam's house, the distant sound of a car's engine revving echoed in the background. A reminder that sometimes even the most stubborn obstacles could be overcome, and, for the first time in months, Sam felt completely, utterly in control. The HOA was gone. The toll road was his, and nothing was going to stop him now. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the next part, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated. See you in the next one. Your support means the world.